Hey, what's going on, guys? Hex coming back in today with a brand new video. And today we're going to be talking about the secret to High School DxD's romance, or secrets, I should say. So, High School DxD is a show that obviously is considered and held to, I guess, a high regard than most harem series, and the cliches within, romance within harem genre is just, it's kind of crazy, Let's look at Campione, a show that I like, but I mean, she literally falls for the guy that kind of stands up to a god, and she's like, I love you because of that. We all have seen stuff like that. And that's not me just knocking on Campione, but I just remember that certain scene to where she's like, you know why I fell for you? Because you're so manly. And that was something that just made me laugh, and really just kind of the reason why, this happens so often within the harem genre, and that's the reason why shows like High School DxD may get a bad rap from some that haven't even seen it. But I'm here to talk about why it isn't quite the case for High School DxD. So the first character we actually have up is Rias. And, one thing about Rias Gremory and Issei's relationship and why she has fallen for our main character, Issei Hyodo. And the thing that I love about this is it's nothing special, but it is realistic. So what exactly am I getting at? Whenever I look at Rias falling for Issei, I mean, it kind of starts to where she seems as if she's kind of just naturally interested in him, right? She kind of states that. But even more importantly, Rias is a character that slowly just hangs around Issei, talks to Issei, is with Issei, and treats him like she normally would a normal servant, but then falls for who he is as a person, obviously. So in episode 6, Akeno states that. So before, she even gets saved by Issei from Riser in the marriage, we find out that Rias actually has a thing for him. Once again, like episode 6 or 7, I believe it's actually like 7 or 8. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not that big a deal. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things and for this video. But whenever we see that, it's just natural. It's something that happens all the time in real life. Love is illogical. Sometimes you wake up one day, or sometimes you're in the middle of talking to someone, and you're just like, holy shit, I kind of like you. And that's something that happens. And it just showed these two characters be around each other, spend a lot of time together. And, Issei's life drastically changed. And technically, so did Rias's. I mean, she just got the Red Dragon Emperor a part of her freaking occult research club, right? Her house. And of course that means they're going to spend a lot of time with one another, and that's what happens. It's just realism, it's realistic, and that's why I like that, and that's why it's different than a normal typical cliche. They didn't do anything special. They didn't try to make it happen fast paced. They just let it run its course, and that's exactly what happened for those two characters. Now it's time to talk about the best written romance within High School DxD, and that's Akeno's feelings towards Issei, actually. So, Akeno, it's really interesting. She's the best written, most definitely best written romance, but at the same time, she has the most cliches within the romance, I would say, personally. So Akeno is a character that falls for Issei whenever he storms into the wedding and breaks the whole ceremony up with Riser and Rias. And of course, to me, that didn't just speak of how manly he was and bold, she kind of states that, but to me, more so, it's about the moral compass that Issei has. She respects him and is actually probably attracted because of he's a low-ranking devil, but he did what he felt was right. So what happens with this cliche-esque kind of setup for her romantic feelings towards Issei is it gets depth. And that's one of the secrets to the show, realism and depth. So first off, or second off, I should say, because this is the second person we're talking about and the second secret to the romance in High School DxD, Akeno is a character to where she gets depth to that relationship. And that's something that's very special. You can say, this is kind of cliche. I'm not really digging this, how she fell for him. Because, I mean, the way she fell for him wasn't even for him saving her or anything. It was for him saving someone else. So, basically, with Akeno, we find out later on down the road that, hey, she's part fallen angel. And what does Issei do in season 2 whenever he finds that out? He says, hey, I don't care. You touch Rias, you touch Akeno. He told, the leader class fallen angel, I'll kill you. I mean, he told me he's going to beat the shit out of him, right? I mean, but on top of that, though, we hop into the second half of High School DxD, and we find out this background story of Akeno. And that is that she left her father because her father left her mother and her, and then her mother died due to him leaving. And of course, that's why she ended up becoming a devil. And she's like, you probably dislike me too. You probably think my wings are ugly, basically, is what she's saying. And guess what? Issei accepts her, and that's the key thing. There's only one person that's ever truly accepted her for what she is after finding out her secret and or knowing her secret, and that was Rias. Issei was the first person of the opposite sex to really be there for her in the foolish. She's never had a connection to a guy like that. She said all men are the same. Rias was the same way. She's never had someone emotionally there for her, though, and she's also never been connected to a man that way. The only person she's ever actually had strong feelings with and or a strong relationship with was Rias Gremory. And so it makes sense for the first guy that accepts her for who she is. She gets strong feelings towards them. It has depth and it carries weight and it's realistic and it's understandable. That's what makes that romantic feeling towards Issei so good, in my opinion. He accepts her for what she is. He's the first of the opposite sex that accepts her for what she is, and that's something that makes sense. And they've been around each other. They're able to actually build a relationship. You know what I mean? So, and you can really, I think one thing with High School DxD that's kind of funny, and it's not something that I really want to use as an example in our reasoning. It's just that Issei is who he is. He's always true to who he is. And that kind of leads into Xenovia, and we'll talk about her in a second here. But just with Akeno, I'd love to know what you guys actually do think about Akeno, because Akeno is a character that has the most depth, it's the most well written, and I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, I don't see how you cannot agree with the Akeno romance, and whether you want to ship Rias or whoever else with Akeno, I think we all can most definitely agree that this is the best written romance. It has the most depth, and it's realistic at the same time with the most depth. So, see you guys whenever we hop onto Xenovia in 3, 2, 1. So the next character to talk about is actually Xenovia. So Xenovia is a character that I really like. It's one of my best girls. Maybe it is my best girl. Okay, it is. I've said it multiple times. She is my favorite out of all the female characters within High School DxD. But she is a character that doesn't have the most, in-depth written romance with Issei, but she, once again, does have a realistic written one. So what I'm getting at with Xenovia's character is the simple fact that Xenovia is a character that is drawn to Issei because she understands that he's not just strong, and that's not why someone wants to be with someone at the end of Season 2, which a lot of this does happen in Season 2 for Akeno, Xenovia, and of course Season 1 for Rias and Azia, but we'll get to Azia in a second. So Xenovia is a character that really doesn't understand a lot of things. I mean, we see that she's been stuck within the church, right? And the missions that she does. She wasn't allowed to leave the church and just go out and have fun. That wasn't really what the church is about. I mean, if you're part of the church, you're usually around the church. You're not really around society. And you don't understand a lot of things. Like, she never has been into recreational activity. She's someone who doesn't kind of understand even what's, what romance is. We see that plenty of times. Like, she wants to have a child with Issei for what reason other than to make a strong child. She doesn't understand the emotional side to that. So one thing I really like about this and why it's so realistic whenever we look at Xenovia is because whenever we look at Xenovia is a character that wants to be with Issei after finding out, hey, I see why the other girls actually are, attracted to him. I see why they're drawn to him. It's because of who he is. It's because of his moral compass is, very correct. It's because he is a good person. And I liked, maybe I like this more than maybe some do, but if you really look at it, go back and look at Season 2. Just watch the whole season, how she met Issei, and then how she is around Issei. She's really, really... I mean, basically, once again, just like the other girls, it's the first male that they're actually having a relationship with, a friendship with. It's their first person that they have actually had a connection with. I mean, Akeno, who was the first person she had a connection with that was a person in general? It was a female. It is Rias. Now let's look at Xenovia. Who was the first person that she actually had like a friendship with? That was Irina. Let's look at Rias. Who was the first person that she had a connection with, an emotional connection with, like the other two girls? That was Akeno. Rias and Akeno. Akeno and Rias. Xenovia and Irina. Right? And that makes sense. And that's kind of the theme here. That's the kind of idea behind this. The concept behind the romance in DxD. It's connections and emotional connections, and it makes a lot of sense due to those connections. Now, whenever I look at Xenovia, who was the first guy she had a connection with that was opposite sex? Issei. Same thing with Rias and Akeno, like I've already kind of said. But that makes sense because of that. And I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I think it's clear as day as to what I'm saying, but it makes a lot of sense why she's connected to him. It's the first time she's actually established a relationship and or been given the chance to establish one, and it just so happened to be Issei Hyodo as the opposite sex that she is actually getting to establish that relationship with, outside of Asia. Of course, that is obviously a female. So that's one great reason for all of this. It's that theme, it's that concept, that idea behind the romance in DxD, emotional relationships, and they're all very believable, whether they have more depth than others or not. But now let's hop on to the final person, and that is Asia. So Asia is actually going to be our last character. Reasoning is because I don't really want to dive into Konoko. I don't really want to dive into anyone else because there's not really many relationships to discuss, as I am an anime only. But Konoko is just one of those ones we don't really need to discuss. The theme is the same. But whenever I look at Asia and Issei, and I kind of want to hop on and do this one because you guys should be noticing the trend now that I'm getting to. The secret is realism and depth, like I've already said. For some have depth, the other ones have realism, and it's believable. It's emotionally believable for each individual girl, especially Akeno. But Asia is a character to where, she was always, it's kind of different for each one. Ozzy is a character that was kind of, she never really had friends, kind of like, I guess Xenovia and Akeno and all them. Of course, they had friends, right? Akeno and Rias did, at least. I mean, look at their Gremory household. Look at Sona and the gang. Of course, they had friends, but of the opposite sex, no, that's the thing for all of them. But whenever you look at Asia, she didn't have any in general. But the reason why I find Asia being attracted to Issei is kind of a little bit different than the other ones, and that, well, most definitely different than Akeno, of course, and different than Rias. I mean, Rias, once again, let me just reiterate, Rias fell for Issei because they were just naturally around each other, and it happened. Love is illogical, so that's why it is believable for Issei and Rias. I look at Akeno. Why? Well, because there's a lot of emotional depth to that. I mean, the first one she's opened up to, that's the opposite sex. The first one that's accepted her for who she is, right? I mean, without them knowing who they are. And then right when they know on the spot who she is, they still accept her. That's Akeno and Issei. We look at Xenovia. Xenovia is someone who doesn't understand a lot of things, and she's starting to slowly understand things with Issei being by his side. And then we look at Asia. Asia is a character that was never really, she's treated very fake in a way, or people were fake to her. And why were they fake to her? Because they liked what she could do with her magical ability, her power, her sacred gear. That's why they liked her. That's why the people at the church liked her. But wherever they found out she could do something like heal a devil, they hated her. They forsook her. They deserted her. She's never been actually appreciated and accepted and wanted around for who she is. It's always been about what she can do. Issei was her friend before he knew what her sacred gear even was. What he even truly understood what it was. He told her, I'm your friend. So that was her first true, real friendship. And why was Asia attracted to him? Because of that. Because she knew he was the first person that was truly accepting her for who she was and not her power. Because whenever he said it, he didn't understand her power. I mean, they're going on dates and hanging out and stuff before he knew what Ozzy was all about, before he knew what a sacred gear even was, really. And at least before he knew what her sacred gear was, and or knew that what she had on her finger was a sacred gear. Yes, she sees him heal that little boy, but he doesn't really understand. He's like, oh, you can heal people, cool. He doesn't understand the extent of it because he's a new devil. He's new to this whole system of fallen angels and devils. He doesn't understand the concepts, right? The ideas behind it. These races and why you should want someone around. He doesn't understand the power struggle and stuff like that and how valuable she could be to somebody. And of course, he's someone who he's not in a position to where he's supposed to understand and he could do anything about it. So she understands that he's just some random. I mean, hell, she doesn't even find out that he's actually a devil until after they meet up and after they're hanging around each other for, a little bit. So whenever you think about that, it makes sense. Issei was the first one to accept Asia, and that's really cool to see. But as always, guys, if you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter at X25. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.